On behalf of ODinLA and Alliant International University Organizational Psychology Programs, I bring you Keeya Wang-Jones, who has been using AI in ways that I find mind expanding, and I'm very excited to have her present what she knows about how to interface with AI. And now the floor is yours, Keeya.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to this event. I'm super excited. I have a huge passion for teaching and sharing knowledge. And I definitely wanted to come back to Alliant International University because my wife has graduated from here. I have a lot of colleagues there. There's a basically big family of OD people that I definitely wanted to share this knowledge with because I think it's very beneficial for your growth, not only just in your career, but streamlining a lot of your work processes by making AI one of your partners. All right, so let's take a look here. So this event is also co-sponsored by Alliant International University, ODinLA, but also Google's Women Tech Makers. So we're super happy to have these sponsors help create these different types of events and getting the word out. So let me take a look at this image that I created using AI. One of the things about AI is that you have to be able to speak with it. So I want to first say greetings, and then I use this comic, and this is a comic that I grew up as a kid with the Tootsie Roll owl, and how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll pop? It's kind of that same way with AI. Like, how many prompts, writing material do you need in order to get the experience that you would like to get? So I'm going to take you on this journey. The first thing I wanted to do was create a slide for this here event today. And I wanted to use DALL-E, which is a creative AI that will allow me to make this visual. I already have it in my mind. I'm an artist myself, but I wanted to see how well this technology would do for me. So the first thing I did was create a prompt. I tell AI exactly what I'm looking for. But because AI has also been first created by sort of the majority group, a lot of our materials for marketing is always Caucasian in a way. So I need to tell AI that I'm not Caucasian, that I'm African descent. And in order to do that, I need to talk to it. It's a great result. Love the iPad, love the two hands. It followed everything I wanted to say what to do, but it doesn't have the second part. So I have to educate it. And then I try to educate it. It has a lot of hands. It did get the African descent, but it's just so much of hands in order to do that. So I have to continue to guide AI. More hands. So let me jump over to DALL-E itself and show you the journey. So with DALL-E, after educating it, talking to it, I just wanted to know, does it really understand the image that was displayed that it created? Does it know what it's seeing? Seeing as in the data that's being presented. And with DALL-E, it says, yes, I do understand that on the right, it's going to be a human hand. On the left, it's going to be a robotic hand. And you're going to have some letters that talk about this presentation. That is all correct. I'm now talking to AI as if it is a human being. It understands that I'm trying to say that the hand itself needs to change out. I would like the hand to be of African descent. It continues, and we go back and forth, and we continue some more, and we continue some more. And then it's like, okay, something is not happening the way that I need the AI engine to get me. So therefore, it's now time to talk to it almost like an intern. I would like you to confirm these images. Do you really understand the differences between these two? And it does say that. It says, okay, imagine when you're talking to someone, a bank teller, to confirm this is your account ID, to confirm this is what you want for your Starbucks order, for your coffee, to confirm AI, you'd like to combine the two images by using design elements of the first image, the very first one, and replacing the Caucasian hand with an African-American female hand from the second image. Okay, then let's proceed. And in that way, we receive the results here. So therefore, after a few prompts, we congratulate the AI. Good job. Only the problem left is that you have a lot of typos, and that's me messing with the AI even more so. I'm Keeya. I come from a background of 24 years in the tech industry. I started off as a graphic designer, then I worked my way up into user experience, went back to grad school to get a degree in design psychology, multimedia, more of technology and design principles and how people use technology. And this was my focus for the past 20 years, is understanding the behaviors of people and how we use technology. And now it's even more important to be a part of this career because we have AI in present. So what is the evolution of AI? How do we get to where we are today? Well, artificial intelligence, some of the examples of that is facial recognition. This is where we definitely need a lot of diversity, equity, inclusion people, a part of this, and psychologists as well, because now we're face to face with human beings. The other is AI power. So if you ever use a chat bot, whether it's customer service, those are all artificial intelligence. Machine learning, the best way to understand machine learning is if you have a physical check and you want to scan that in for your mobile phone to deposit it, there's machine learning of understanding what that check is, what the data is on that check, and how to approve it for being able to cash out. Other parts of machine learning is just smartwatches. There's now, I have a washer and dryer from Samsung that is AI powered. Tells me exactly my loads. It learns how much loads that I do. It learns how much even soap that I use, and it calculates that in the machine. But deep learning, the other basis that we're all trying to get, is the best example of that is an autonomous car. Autonomous cars have to understand self-driving principles. They have to understand traffic laws. They need to understand what an ambulance is versus a fire truck, or human behavior, human errors. So this is another example of having radar sensors, a lot of different types of technology, a lot of forward-facing cameras, all types of cameras, in order for the car to learn and being able to piggyback on machine learning and artificial intelligence. So how do we work with AI? Can it truly be our partner? Well, one of the things that AI would do exceedingly well in business is that it does have unlimited potential. This is a comic, or not comic strip, but a comedy strip from The Office. Dwight is kind of tormenting the interns, and they're all giving him the side eye. Um, with that being said, it is like that. It's, if you ever remember the Jetsons back in the day, that the AI is like really training that intern. Um, the other thing is that you want to talk to it like a human being, because that's how it learns. The tech behind it is the reason why. Before generative AI, which is all about the algorithm, all the science behind it, how it's going to generate these different machine learning models and be able to learn on big data, large sets. But without the conversational AI, it doesn't work with humans. We need natural language processing, which is a technical term of understanding language and conversation. So we have dialogue systems, we have interactive conversations, we have context management. And in order to combine these two, we then have an AI engine. So with the generative AI getting all the data points that you ever need, with a conversation to actually speak to you, this is how we train it. The other pieces of AI is that as it grows, as we continue to talk with it, we need user feedback. User feedback is so crucial with AI because it's going to take all of us from different backgrounds, from ethnicity, from cultural, to train it to understand how to see us. There has been a recent incident with one of the retail stores, I think it was Rite Aid. Don't quote me on it. I'll find it after the talk if you're really interested to see that go down. But they're banned from using AI because AI started to criminalize, profile women and people of color as criminals. So there's a responsibility with AI that we all have to take. So one of the other cool things about AI is that as we're bridging this gap between generative and conversational AI, and we're learning how to give it feedback, it's going to make it quite stronger. And then this is how we create it as a partner. The reason why I wanted everyone to have access to Copy AI, because I feel like this is a company that's created this generative AI, conversational AI, for the purpose of copywriting. So being able to have this ability to talk to a copywriter, to craft your emails, to craft your other contacts, is what I was using it for as well. So I will also get into that. Is there any questions so far? I like to hold this screen up to answer any questions because this is the technical part. I'll be happy to answer anything at this moment. Yeah. much knowledge ongoing, the more questions you ask, the more it's going to trigger me to answer those and keep it relevant to your context as well. This, what is it? The psycho, the knowledge bias.
Yeah,
So you got to help me combat that a little bit, for sure. Absolutely.
when we first talked about this, I was wondering what's the difference between generative AI and conversational AI? And I know once you explained it, I was like, oh yeah, I've read about that.
Mm.
I didn't have a picture that was fresh enough and deep enough to be able to interpret what's here. Um, so maybe you can explain that difference and why it makes it, how do you use that knowledge?
Yes. So with generative AI, we're talking about a lot of data points. So with a lot of machine learning models, which gets into the data science of how we collect data, when we have different types of algorithms going through the entire internet looking for information, is trying to figure out what information in the entire web do I need to capture. An example would be that if you are trying to do an organizational development business strategy, you might say, what is the first three things I need to pay attention to or having context building out this strategy for XYZ company? It's going to search the internet and it's going to look for those data points and it's going to spit it back at you. But without the conversational AI piece, you're just going to get data. And there's a lot of data out there. So in order to make it have sense to us humans, we have to have it in a conversational context, which allows us to talk to it. We have, and in this conversational area that you see here, this is the technology that's happening behind it. And there's much more technology as well. But these dialogue systems, another great idea or example would be like when you're talking to a chat bot for support, it's already got so much data sets behind it of all the other customers that are asking the same questions. It's going to repeat that information to you in that chat box. Oh, you need help with a certain part of the manual. Looks like 20 other people also needed help with that manual. Here's the best answers that we found in this query. So understanding that it takes both of the generative and the conversational AI to be an artificial intelligence tool. And the third piece is all about how we continuously improve it. It has to, humans are improving the AI more than just the technology because we have to give it feedback. We have to call it out when it's not, for example, for the retail experience of women and people of color becoming criminals, someone had to call that out and say, this is not performing the way it's supposed to. So there's a lot of research behind it and development to try and to improve it. There's even a woman that's coming from Canada. I will also get these resources to you if you're very interested, that she started a Black chat GPT. And the first thing I thought of as an African American was like, what is the difference between Black chat GPT and chat GPT? And she has a lot of different research on how that context is. Like, for example, asking about micro aggressions, ChatGPT is just going to tell you exactly microaggressions are considered for Black and Brown people, and this is the Webster definition of it. But according to her GPT, it's very much of more of the psychological impact of how it affects Black and Brown people. So all of it is brand new, but for all the different types of AI, you need both three components. You need the generative, all the data sets, all the algorithms, and you need the conversational AI to make sense to us as humans. And you're going to see a lot of that conversational part in copy.ai. Yes,
Great, thank you.
you're
I,
welcome.
I'll say one more thing that I found useful that I learned a month or two ago. And that is when it comes to generative AI, machine learning models, and predictive text or predictive picture drawing, that on the text side, let's start just there. Um, it doesn't understand
Mhm,
words or concepts the way we think of them. It
mhm,
understands tokens, and a token can be a meaning unit, it can be a word, it can be a part of a word. And when I read that, I was like, oh, this is an alien being that knows the world in a way that, just simply can't compute for us.
Mhm.
And so it's always when it's generating kind of hallucinating, but the hallucination gets
Good.
closer and closer to reality. Just like, when a 2-year-old says, this is the way the world is, it's going to be some very interesting story that's really far off, and they learn over time to adjust their way of seeing the world to the way people around them see it, or the way they experience events teaching them. And that to me was mind blowing. That doesn't
Absolutely.
doesn't understand the way we understand. Back to you.
Absolutely. And that's why your intern is like your 5-year-old or your 15-year-old, that the maturity level of the world is not in context yet, unless you tell it, right? Great. So, but how do you still communicate with it? So as you see in the beginning, it took me a lot of prompts just to tell AI I wanted the Caucasian hand to be African descent because I am African descent, right? And that's because a lot of it is training it to understand your purpose. So it understands this purpose. So a bad prompt is something that's super short. It'll draft something, but the more specificity that you have, the better your results is going to be. So I want you to just take a moment. You can do it in a chat and just write a prompt. You could just the first thoughts that come to your mind, if you're talking to a machine, what does that prompt would look like? You can even, if you already have Copy AI, you can also go to Copy AI and write that prompt. We're going to give that about 5 minutes for you to explore it a bit, and then we'll give you our first breakout room. Sounds good?
Sounds great.
So any prompt that you want, or you have a specific topic?
Any prompt that you want. So the idea is just to play around. So if you go to Copy AI, you can just type in, maybe it could be as silly as Starbucks has so many different types of coffee. What is the best one that I would start my day with? I'm writing a blog about that.
The question is, I know that the prompt, if you provide the AI with some text and you say like make it better, I know that that is a bad prompt. But how specific do you need to get in order for it to understand what it is that you mean when you're talking about better?
Right. So I think that's so the question is, if when you're writing your prompt and you say just make this better, better is very vague. So we would need to understand what better means. So when you're writing your prompt, what does better mean? Like what would you tell an intern?
So I guess, adding some references, which I know references are a little special. Um, and references from certain like psychological journals or something like that.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So, okay.
So add a reference, and it's probably going to search the internet for that reference, right? So if you're like, I would like you to also just take a look quickly and see if there's other context to make this quote unquote better by
Yeah.
using this reference.
Okay.
Now AI will also tell you, oh, I can't do that. And it may give you options. Is there something else that I can help you with? Or like, is there another clue pretty much if I can look into? So it will talk to you. How did that feel? Does anyone want to tell the experience of how that felt dropping in the first
Yeah.
prompt?
I'll share my experience.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. I haven't used Copy AI. I have used Chat and Bing AI, but so I just put mine in the chat here. Just develop a 3-minute script. of a good coaching conversation between a manager and employee who's not been collaborating well with others, manager to demonstrate good listening skills, understanding, appreciating the work value the employee does bring, and inspiring her to change, inspiration to change from her behavior for the greater good of the team. And I got immediately a script, and it looked great. And I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. I didn't really have any changes. Then I thought, well, then I said, what do I want to change? So then I said, change it to talking to a teenager. And then immediately the script then changed a parent talking to a teenager. And I was like, oh, that looks pretty good too. I didn't have anything there's like maybe nuances that I would try to personalize it more, which obviously you're
Right.
not going to get from AI anyway. So then and I've never done this before, but I thought, let me just get a little racy here. As the parent one pulled up, I said, add curse words for emphasis. Okay. Okay. Not that I do that as a parent. Okay. But I just wanted to see what would happen. And basically the response was, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Is there another request you have? And
There it is,
that was
exactly.
great. What a great experience for me to just kind of learn its capabilities and boundaries, right? Ethical guidelines. So
Yes, that is really good. Thank you for sharing, Jocelyn. Does anyone else would like to share?
Yeah, but hi.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm like just a disclaimer, I'm kind of like advanced in ChatGPT and I copy pasted some of my prompts. I'm a verified builder actually in GPT. So I copy pasted some of my instructions in the configuration. It kind of like gave me a different answer, and I'm still having a hard time to understand what's the difference between uh the copied AI with ChatGPT, because I asked what you can do for me. It sounds like it more gives a guidance rather than um functioning for the process that you want. It just has, some prepared prompts that you can get a better version in ChatGPT.
So it's happening. So the difference between copy AI, so copy AI, the backbone is ChatGPT, so that it can answer the questions, so that you can research. So I use copy AI and ChatGPT in together, in a sense that I might use copy AI to formulate my own prompts and questions and try to get some of the bulk of my research done. And then I might take that result and put it in ChatGPT 4 and say, okay, now that I have this result, can you do extra research for this particular area? So with copy AI, it is your copywriter. So there's a lot of copywriters that help build their product. So they're thinking about marketing. They're thinking about, how are you going to create your LinkedIn post? Do you need to clean that up? Example, like the script that was written for the parent and the teenager. So anything that has anything to do with more of a copy-oriented piece, that's where copy AI is. So example, if you decide to write a business plan, it's going to help you understand what's needed in that business plan, and then how to structure it and help you write it. So that's kind of where it is. But the backbone of it is ChatGPT 4, because it needs to search the internet to find the right data for you.
I kind of like understand what you're saying, but again, Dr. Throper knows that I'm like kind of like really killing the chat GPT. And I have actually trained my chat GPT to do same thing as the copy AI do. So like if I want to program a chat GPT, I'll ask for like, okay, so give me the instruction language and what are the details that I want to add if I want it to function for such and such. And it kind of like, per my, like initial understanding of the copy AI, it gives like a better instruction. And then if you customize the instruction in the setting, it kind of like switch to the professional field, or you can make a GPT for your need. So, and I totally understand, like the copy AI or what you explained about the copy AI, but I just want to make sure, okay, so the chat GPT is like way ahead of the copy AI, right?
Well, it's not way ahead. I think it's very much of that. If ChatGPT breaks down, all of the AI in the world that's using it as a backbone is going to break down, right? So, so without that part, then yeah, copy AI doesn't become a product. In that case, you're absolutely correct. It needs the ChatGPT to function copy.ai. So what this company did was said that there is a need for copywriters, for people to take content. And like you said, you can do a ChatGPT 4, and even ChatGPT 3 and 3.5, but the copy AI is just a tool. It's just another tool. So what it has, which I don't show here, is that copy AI helps you with tone of voice. So when you're writing and you're like, that's really great, but now I want it in the tone of voice of Maya Angelou. I'm going with all our Black history heroes and sheroes for this talk. So maybe it's Maya Angelou. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to write this in Maya Angelou's tone of voice. And you can save that tone of voice and be like, this is what I'm going to use for some of my other speeches or presentations and so forth. So there's an info base of very specific use cases that you have for copy, for writing. Does that make sense?
Yes, somehow, yeah. It sounds like it makes it, like makes the use of ChatGPT simpler if you're not advanced in the use of ChatGPT. So
Yeah,
that
the workflows. I think the workflows more, because if you are writing a business, like I write a lot of executive summaries for different types of companies. So instead of using ChatGPT, I'll use Copy AI because I have an entire library of all of my executive summaries. And I want to call that same executive summary, let's say it's for Google for once. I'll call and say, hey, remember that executive summary? Let's pull that out of our library. And I'm going to now craft the next version of this, so that it keeps things a little bit more organized. And that helps a lot. There's also, in Copy AI, I'm looking on the side because I have everyone here with the gallery view. But it also helps with the fact that not just tone of voice, organization of information, but you also have workflows. So if I wanted to send this out and say, I want an email workflow of the copy I wrote, I want you to do a LinkedIn post. I also want you to do a Facebook post. I want you to do all the posts, and I want to do it all from one workflow. I hit one button and then it pushes it all out. So with ChatGPT, there's other AI solutions, but it doesn't do that kind of work. So it's a different thing.
So it doesn't automate things in a way that it literally do things. But you have to still communicate and copy paste to, like, let's say LinkedIn or email, correct? It just, gives you the product of what you request, but you still have to do the work yourself.
You have to set it up. So you have to set up your workflow.
Thank
And
you.
then once you have your workflow, then you run it like an engine. So I'll show that part a little bit. All right, the next question.
Yeah, I think actually I have two now. I think when you were talking to Sapita just now, what you were saying is that it will rewrite the summary differently for LinkedIn than it will for Facebook or
Correct.
or something.
Correct.
Knowing who goes there and what they're looking for. But then Sapita's question was, do you then have to manually post them into those sites? And I hope the answer is yes, because if AI gets too agentic too early and it has the agency to go post for you, you can start playing one of those Dukas music, the Sorcerer's Apprentice, where everything goes wrong when the Sorcerer's Apprentice tries to do a little bit of magic.
That comes with marketing. So with marketing, they do have automation, right? So they're using AI in this context. So if there's a workflow, so like when I get to the copy AI part, I'll show you, Sapita, about the workflows and the info base. So it makes a little bit more sense about how that tool works. There's many, 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 many tools out there. And I'll showcase a few of them here. But it's very much of the person's workflow and even the organization. So if it's a constant repetitive social media post, there's companies that will help you schedule those posts, right? But there's also technology to connect a certain service such as Copy AI or ChatGPT-4 that will help streamline that process. So it is getting there, to your point, Jonathan, that things will start to get automated, but even AI has its own tone of voice. You're like, oh, someone wrote that in AI. You start to recognize, like, that's not like AI wrote that, right? Where's the person behind it, right? So that's where human intervention has to come in to make sure that they're quite unique in ways.
Just a quick question. So is there any source, or let's say, I don't know, like a booklet or in any, like the director, all the AIs, and so we can, use for our need? Because I understand there are different AIs, and all of also like the widely used software such as Microsoft, they will have their co-pilots.
Yes.
But
is coming
but
out with theirs. Yeah.
yes, but the question is, okay, so like as the IO psychologist, let's say if we want to design a function within an organization, and we need to know, okay, what are the AIs that we can use for those function? Is there any source that we can at least review the list of available AIs or?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have ChatGPT 4 and you pay the 20, I mean, to me personally, it's the best $20 to spend because there's so much of these companies trying it out in phase 1. So for example, and I'll get to that and I'll show you towards the end, I'll show all the resources for all the AIs out there and which ones are much more keen to be used for OD versus all the rest of them. I use a lot of creative AI just because it's fun and it's like I want to keep pushing them to see people of color. So I use it a lot. I write them a lot because I think all of us has a purpose in this AI world and we have to speak on it. But there's also parts that I use AI to help make graphs, right? Organizational staffing. All right, this is my staff. How do I see this in a mind map, right? So those type of AI pieces are good. And there's even Canva, which is in this phase infancy of trying to create presentations. So there's different pieces to use, but most of them are all in phase 1. They're all trying to figure out what's the best way to use it. So there's a lot of still manual work. AI won't do your job 100% completely. You have to kind of coach it. Mm-hmm. All right, then let's do this. Let's break out for 10 to 15 minutes. And we are going to use Copy AI. So I believe everyone has it. I'm going to also show you really quickly before I let you go for a few minutes. But the assignment is that you want to take 2 minutes. You want to craft your own prompt. When I show you the exercise, you want to share your experience within your group. And then you want to decide together on what one prompt that you would like me to try and see those results as well. So we will have right here, I will show you. I'm always moving people around on my Zoom calls. AI should watch my eyes and move the people and help me be able to see them as I move around. All right. So this is the assignment. You are an organization development professional planning a strategic planning session with 7 top executives of a company that has to update their strategic plan to get ahead of the changes that AI is about to unleash on their industry. Executives are so divided that they have formed 2 camps and had some heated discussions. Part of your aim is for everyone to show up and for the 2 groups of executives to bring their whole selves to the table and listen before arguing. Write a diplomatic invitation to the first half-day strategic planning discussion in 2 weeks. So you want AI to help you write the diplomatic invitation. I'm going to also, what you could do is copy this. Do we have it in the chat? Is there a way, Jonathan, to copy that in the chat? They can actually use it too?
I was just realizing that the copy that I had open is now hidden behind several.
Let me share my screen. Oh, desktop, yes. So I had the pleasure of jumping in like a spy for room 1. Thank you all in room 1 for sharing your experience. We were talking a little bit deep diving about Copy AI. So everyone coming back, I want to go over a few of these features that's here. So understanding what Copy AI, as well as a lot of the other AI engines out there, is always built on the backbone of some big AI company. So for example, this is built on the backbone of ChatGPT 4, I believe. This is also other AIs are built on ChatGPT 3.5. It depends on what the company's use case goals are and their business proposition is. For Copy AI, it's all about copy. Their whole marketing is about when you don't have a copywriter and you need someone on your team, we are the solution for that. So there are 3 features here. One is very new, which is called workflows. The reason why this is quite fun to do is because these workflows are about like how you send out outbound emails, writing a blog post. They're really trying to learn as well as like, what are the needs of people when they're writing copy on a regular basis. I tend to use it to help with conversationals of like, especially if I'm talking to a recruiter, I'm like, I want to talk to you, but I want to just kind of have the same format, still with my tone of voice, which we'll get to. And as you can see, write a LinkedIn post. The workflow library is quite new, but basically what it does is that if I click on any of these, let me just show you. It basically tells
Can't
me,
see your screen, Kara.
oh, you cannot? Let's see.
No.
Share chats. Here we go. Wrong, click too fast, trigger happy. All right. How about that?
No, we can. Yeah, thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's go back. I'm okay with going back. I like going back. All right, so workflows. This is a feature of this particular company. So as I was saying, most of these AI companies are built on the backbone of some AI development. This one is for ChatGPT 4, and other parts are like maybe ChatGPT 3. But their business model is having a copywriter when you don't have a copywriter. So as you can see, I have the LinkedIn post, write a blog post, some cold outbound emails. So these are all generative and conversational AI working together to make these conversations work. The workflow is about how to streamline this process. Like if I'm doing a LinkedIn post, what is the workflow for that? I'm going to write a topic. I'm going to run this workflow, but basically it's like, how do I create data to constantly keep pushing out? And there's a lot of companies trying to do it from a social media perspective, but as you can see, there's ways that they're trying to do it as well. So that's one. Once you start getting advanced with learning how to talk to it, creating projects with it, I have a ton of projects. Jonathan was like, you should share all your projects. So I have a ton of projects that I work on, just trying to brainstorm with AI about a certain business model or a certain use case that I'm exploring. And I have a lot of experiments because I just want to keep pushing AI and testing it out to figure out what I'm trying to accomplish just for fun. The other thing is that this info base is really, really interesting because when I was starting off with my own tech startup, is that I have a lot of content that I have to organize. Google Docs is great, Google Sheets is great, but a lot of the work that I'm doing is I'm communicating with other human beings. So I need business descriptions, I need different types of business descriptions, I need a consumer AI assistant. If I want to talk to someone that would buy my product, then I want to be able to talk to them in a tone of voice that really resonates with our business and our mission. So I literally call this my consumer AI assistant because I really want it to shape all those experiences. When I get a reply from a customer, I can send it back to AI and say, how would you respond to this? And it would give all types of brainstorming ideas of how to do that. It also helps that I come from a customer service background before I started tech and understanding how customer service works. So a lot of your knowledge that you already have is going to help train AI to be your partner, your assistant. The next thing is that there's a brand voice. So a lot of brand voices are, you have your own personal brand voice. So if you write AI, like if you write this system a paragraph, it's going to analyze your own personal voice. It says this is your personal tone of voice, which I have here is that I talk to communities a lot. So I wrote something and then it said, this is what I got out of your voice. I understand that you are inclusive. I understand that you're empowering. You have a lot of intersectionals of who make you who you are. You're authentic. And it looks like I'm identifying you as a woman, you're a person of color, you're LGBTQIA+, and all these neurodivergent individuals. I'm also a person that has ADHD symptoms. So it understands this style of how I am. And what I do is I combine that with how I communicate with the world. This is where we have a lot of personal branding. So tone of voice is super important because as you are talking to AI, it's learning who you are, but you are also trying to make sure that it really captures your human side. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Are you inspired? Am I empowering?
Absolutely.
All right.
So how did you start to capture that? I guess is my question.
How did I start to capture this?
Yeah.
So what I did was I started here and it didn't have all the stuff that I have here that you see, right? But I say a new
Okay.
brand voice and it just tells me, write something. So I was like, I'm going to write what my business is and what I'm trying to do and what kind of person I believe that I am here. And it's going to take it and it's going to analyze it and it's going to spit out, this is what we understand of you.
Great.
You
Thank
want to see another example? So when I had my business, I was also working with very individual instructors, a lot coming from the marginalized communities. And when I was talking to the instructor, having an interview, I would write everything that he said that I thought is like really capturing who he is. I run it through the analyzer, and then I read this back to the instructor, and he's like, "How did you do that?" That I did. And I basically took your story, put it in here, and does this actually resonate to who you are? You are gentle, you're rhythmic, you're authentic, you're patient, you are a meditation coach, right? You're a mindfulness coach. And if you're doing self-awareness, what does that look like? So when they're writing his brand, it knows that you have to take patience and understanding. So anything he writes going forward is going to remember every LinkedIn post that you have, this is your tone of voice. Every Facebook post you have, this is your tone of voice. And then the work that he does is to make the unique changes for each one if he wants to.
So
Sounds
is it possible for you to put previous LinkedIn posts in and have it create your brand voice, and then
Yes.
use that brand voice to be able to create new things for yourself? So use my brand voice, or do you have to put all of this in and say, now create a post on blah, blah, blah using my brand voice?
No, so what you would have to do is that once you have your brand voice, you can have a few of them. Like I have a lot of them, right? For different contexts.
Yep.
So when I go into my chat and I'm working on, I'm going to skip the workflow part, but if I go in my chat and I say LinkedIn, I'm writing a LinkedIn post, right? Or tell it what to do, write a LinkedIn post. And I click here, which brand voice I'm going to use.
Okay.
So if I say this LinkedIn post, I really want to get people's attention. I want to getting to yes. You know, AI can be our partner, but explain what partnership is. That is not very specific. It's a horrible prompt, but let's see what it does. It immediately goes into like the true meaning of partnership using AI. And it's huge, right? This is a huge post. So it's banked on being huge because it's very much of like getting to know this the whole theory of getting to a yes. Dr. Troper, she still has the book and I'm like reading most of it. So there's this, but if I change this and say, this is great, but if I use my own voice, okay, that is a great result. Let's change the tone of voice, but keep the context of AI partnership. Write the post in 50 words. And there's my 50 words about partnership and breaking boundaries and barriers. Yeah. And it has my tone of voice. So if you notice, it says, hey, they're amazing folks. That's something I would totally say. But up here, dear LinkedIn community, it's completely different. Yes?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So here's a vulnerable moment. If you guys all know Brene Brown about vulnerability, and I'm trying to be more vulnerable about how I tell my stories because I think storytelling and also real experiences work. I did have a tech startup. It was named Work It. And it was all about helping instructors, especially from marginalized communities, get seen online and be able to teach classes online. It is now a failed startup in the sense that it takes a lot of social media marketing, and going up against YouTube free classes was just extremely hard to do. But in the startup world, throughout this 3-year journey before I came to the decision of dissolving my company, I had a lot of rejection on the way. And it starts to get to you. You start to feel the biases of being a person of color, being a queer person of color, that this is just climbing up Mount Everest. Like, how do I actually even get one person to understand? But there's something that everybody needs, including us entrepreneurs, including doing startups that are very risky, is that we need feedback. In order to have the feedback that we need, we have to get past the emotional highness of this depression of being rejected all the time. Basically, starting a business in the tech world, you definitely become a professional rejection taker. With that being said, is that I have to get I have to get the feedback. So this was my situation. Startup world is hard. I got rejected, rejected, and rejected. The true job is, yeah, it is a professional rejection taker job. Emotions are always high. There's so many different biases you can't even imagine. And then also trying to make sure that you find a actual product problem market fit product, but you need support to do that. So as you're doing that, the emotions are you're going flat broke, almost bankrupt. So you really are bootstrapped for your funds. You're done. You're like, you need this help. Someone needs to kind of come in. And in order to do that, I need the feedback. So this illustration was done by Dolly. It is a creative art designer AI engine, also built on the backbone of ChatGPT. One of the things that you'll notice really clearly if you see an AI illustration is that all the spelling is completely wrong. So if I go back to my beginning title of this presentation, you'll notice that technology is spelled wrong. But that is a clear signal that this is an AI drawing. So when I was doing this, and I'll show you really about how that came to be, just one moment, is that here's Dolly. And here was this part, one second. Here, these are Canva pieces. I wanted to get to, yes. All right, so I am trying to show examples of a lot of stuff here. But one of the things was that, and if I scroll too much, I'll let me know. But if you can still see my screen, I told AI, I have been rejected quite a lot. And I'm trying to do this presentation. I'm trying to show that experience, but AI cannot detect emotion. And I thought just saying, okay, it's a African-American female looking in front of her computer. She's completely rejected. It's unfortunate. And AI is like, okay, great. She's so happy to be rejected. And that's not how I was feeling, right? So I tried again. All right, AI, I have been rejected over and over again. I need this African-American female, blah, 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 blah. And again, she is smiling. The person that's rejecting me is smiling. Like I'm having it out with AI right now. I'm like, this is not the story I want to tell. So it dawned on me that AI just doesn't understand emotion as it shouldn't. We have to explain it. So then my next script is like the comic strip for the artwork is pretty good. I mean, I love artists. I'm a big fan of supporting artists, and I think they need to be a part of any DALL-E EI development so that it truly reflects on what artists do. But for the most part, it understands at least this part now. I don't have to explain anymore that I'm African American. It now takes that from the first lesson, right, with the robot hand. And I'm like, look, she's sad. She's sad about reading this rejection email. Then it knows how to print out, okay, you're angry, you're sad. And then this is the image that I went with because it's clearly now seen throughout the true expression that I was trying to convey. With that also being said, is that I use Copy AI to help me with these rejections letters because I know that at the end of the day, I still need to get that feedback. I have to pull myself out of it. And there's a lot of controversy about this, like using AI for emotional development or navigation, but I use it because it needs to be. You still have to be able to communicate. You still have to be able to get, if any of these companies are giving you feedback and there's an opportunity to get that, you need someone to kind of buffer it. So I use AI a lot to buffer it. Job hunting, job searching, cover letters. With cover letters, I am very keen on making sure that I'm only using AI a bit because when recruiters are looking at it, they're going to know it's AI. We all do. I'm also a hiring manager. So it's very much of like looking for the purpose of why this person wants to join the company. The AI is not going to tell you that purpose. It's up to the human to intervene and say, this is the purpose of why I'm doing that. why I'm interested in this company, and I just want you to clean that up so it's coherent and consistent across the entire email or the cover letter. So with this one, it was a rejection letter. I knew that they can probably get me really good feedback. It looks like I wanted to acknowledge that they had a lot of applicants, and I was grateful to be a part of their drawing to see if I can get their funding to help. So I knew that information. I had AI help that. I also wrote in my own words, of course, of like how I want to manage this communication, and I did not use this subject letter. And can you imagine the person that reads this email that's like, you have a gratitude for your rejection notice? That doesn't even compute of being grateful for rejection, but it is grateful for the opportunity. So there is parts that AI will not understand about human behavior. It does understand how to shape words, right? Get it to do the purpose that you're asking it to do, but it definitely takes a human behind it in order to really convey the message properly. I would never suggest just copying what AI has generated unless you really crafted those prompts, you really got everything in your info base if you're using Copy AI or ChatGPT, and you're like, this was actually a really good piece of writing, and you can use that again. I will always say that you have to keep massaging that prompt to get the best results, and then even more so at the end. Is that clear? Cool. So we were going to go back into break time again. How are we doing? I'm just going to check and see if there's any questions in the Google Sheets.
There's a question in chat. So far, I've either been able to answer questions or there are very few that are current.
Okay.
You've answered them really well, going up to so far. So there's a question, could you upload your original cover letter and just ask for refinement?
Yes, absolutely. So in Copy AI, I uploaded a grant application that we were working on, and I was making sure that I can kind of refine that. So when you use the info base in this particular tool, you're going to have a collection of all your things. Let me just actually show you one moment. So in Copy AI, in this info base, I have my business plan. I have a grant. Let's see, maybe I've deleted it, but here, cover letter. One moment. Looks like I have to refresh myself. Grant proposal. So I have uploaded this documentation as a PDF, and then it will scan it to, can you pull out the first paragraph of that and let's refine it. You would still need to open up your Word doc to correct it. It's not going to talk to it in that way. It's just going to help you understand how to rewrite it. So I have a ton of ways of, like, my cover letter. I upload it so that I can continually work on different types of cover letters for different situations. Does that answer that question? So from a business perspective in the OD world, I can imagine that everyone's writing objective key results, OKRs for short. And in doing so, I've trained this AI to understand what an effective OKR is. That was the context I put in here so that as I write my objective key results for different projects, I'm able to call out and make sure that I'm capturing exactly the formation of what an OKR is so I can work on the content itself versus the formation of it. Does that also help and make sense?
I'm going to take the silence as a yes.
Yes,
And
okay.
there are a couple of types of questions that are now.
I should get everyone to
chat.
put thumbs up when they're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So one of them is, does AI create toxic positivity?
Mm.
Or is
So
that for
explain out a little bit more
Oh.
to me.
Yeah, for context, that was from when you were showing these image examples and you're saying like, look, I'm sad from rejection. And then it's got these like hearts and, like it reminded me of the Lego movie, like everything is awesome. You're like, no, everything is not awesome.
Exactly.
And so I'm like, is this just, you know, a completely emotionally unaware thing, which I get, we're talking about technology here. But in the way that you were talking about at the very beginning, of issues with bias towards certain groups, you
Mhm.
know, might this be another example of something similar to that where
Yes.
people are giving it one thing and it's actually kind of encouraging or kind of promoting something you know, unhealthy?
Right. So there is AI harm, right? So AI harm could be emotional harm. AI harm could be context. So like I said, the retail store with choosing all women and people of color as criminals, right? So there's a lot of that context that needs to happen because I think in this one there is a positive reinforcement. Um, and having to learn what emotions are. So I think that's going to be a constant thing that we battle up with AI, that this is a sad story. Now there is this here in ChatGPT, I have to explain this, right? But in Copy AI, I don't have to explain so much about my emotions. I can say, which I did in the Copy AI, is that I was rejected. The funny thing is it says, I'm sorry that you were rejected. Is it truly sorry that I'm rejected? But it knew in context that this is a rejection letter, right? And then you can still even find that it still made a mistake with the subject, that you're grateful for being rejected. And you're like, I'm not that grateful of being rejected, right? So like it understands at a certain degree, but it's up to the human to intervene and say, this is the actual emotion that I'm going through. So a lot of my prompts when I was going through a lot of my um those letters and those and interacting with investors, it's like I tell the AI that I'm kind of ticked off, but I can't write being angry. I can't write an angry email. So I need your help to help me say what I need to say to get feedback. And it understood that. So there's times that I was just like, excuse my language, I'm bitching at the AI because I need to let it out, right? I'm not calling my wife anymore because she's like, you need to handle it. I'm not talking to anyone else and you need to handle it. So I do all of that. But AI removed all of that and just picked the pieces that are in context to the investor, especially if I said this is actually for an investor. I can't have that, right? So it does help extract what's actually needed for professional writing. And I think that's where my safeguard is with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Somebody wrote in the in chat, it feels non-genuine to me if I'm writing something like a personal letter and the AI is doing, I presume, Jeff, you meant, and the AI is doing the writing for you.
Mm.
So
It can feel non-genuine, but I think it's also on one's own responsibility to also help craft it in a way, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Like, for example, like I said before, that your AI, and there's a lot of students, they're using it to write their papers, but that would be ingenuine. Like if you're using it as a partner, you're not causing any harm to yourself or to anyone others. You can have it be your partner, your streamline advocate for it. You just have to educate.
One, and just to throw a provocative question out there, or provocative take, for purpose of conversation, um, in that sort of scenario, understanding that you can kind of tailor it, you can ask it and get something and kind of workshop it. Maybe this is more of a philosophical question, but does that then turn people into more editors than creators? You're kind of editing something that was created and tweaking it rather than creating something yourself.
Right. I think it's both and. So if I wrote something and I'm creating that prompt in a very particular way, then I'm using AI to help make that creation. But then I'm also in the same breath becoming an editor, right? So I think it's very much of both and versus or.
There's a related question, and that is in our breakout exercise, two of us literally copied and pasted the exercise into Copy AI and got totally different results.
Okay. Oh,
I
I
think
love
we had talked, you and I had talked about right before the evening started, right after I had signed up for Copy AI. And I found, so the question is, why does that happen? The answer is because it's generating from scratch every time.
everything exactly.
So it
Oh.
will be different.
It will be different even with these images that I play around with. It's very much of like every time you work with me and Jonathan was playing with this earlier, is that if I go back to the title slide that I was making, these two I'll put up. So watch very closely. Can everyone see that? Do you see the little changes that the AI is making?
In the words at the
Back
top.
and forth in the words. So it's generating every single time. It's not like a human that's going to take something I did in Photoshop and go in and tweak a little bit, clean it up, and be like, there it is. That's the image that I want. It's creating a brand new one every single time. And that's the same thing sometimes with the copy. It can remember it. It can say, remember what we were working on? Like, yes. All right, let's call that. But I literally tell AI, commit that to memory. I know it's committed to memory, but I'm like, let's commit that to memory as 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So when I say, let's reinvestigate 0.3, it's going to pull that data, because now we're talking about the generative AI. It's going to collect that data that I said to create, and then it's going to use it in conversation. Like, what do you want me to do with this? And I'm going to say, I want you to, let's dig deeper on looking into the research of co-housing. Okay, what resources are out there for co-housing? It's going to go back and look at all the algorithms out there, get me more information, and it's going to say, okay, I found this. And I'm like, that's a great result. And then I take the responsibility of what I do with that information, right? I see some smiles happening here. This is good. I like smiles.
There's another question, and that is what your experience has been taking AI, taking a group product that was written in different voices and having AI weave the tone together so it feels more unified.
That is a great experiment to try, and I want everyone to try it. I think, like, if you want to, we have another breakout room, but if you take your collected, so if someone says, I'll take point on this, take everyone's collected part, put it in the brand voice, which is here, and see what the result is, because it's going to try and create a unified voice.
So let's go quickly to breakouts. Do you have an easy way to put the instructions out?
Yeah, we can do it in the chat, because I think that's a really great question. I'm seeing all the other ones are coming in too. Thank you, everyone. If I don't get to all the questions during this session, Jonathan and I will go through them, and then I will send out an email with some answers. How about that? Yeah? Okay.
That'll be good.
So the next breakout. On a voice, and then one person collects all the copy, everybody's tone of voice, and then input it into the brand voice of copy AI, and then share your result here in the chat after the breakout room. Main session. Sounds like a plan. I love it when it's a little bit off script. It always works great in teaching when it's a little bit off script. Okay.
And
So have you put it in the chat yet? I'm not seeing it.
yeah, it's in chat at the very bottom. If you maybe do a little scrolling.
Okay, I got it. Thanks, Alan.
And everybody can copy it so that it's in your computer's memory, so you can paste it when you get into the chat room.
Yeah, give a couple of minutes to get everyone to have it. I don't know how to make it. There we go. I gotta make it zoom big for everyone. Is that good?
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. All right.
We had a very interesting conversation, but we weren't able to think fast enough, well, I'll speak for myself, to figure out what content I had that I could go copy and paste and make it into, understand my brand voice. And moreover, there were a couple of people who've already run out of their 2,000 words.
Okay.
At least it's telling them that they can get something more tomorrow.
Yeah.
Instead of
Okay.
waiting a whole month.
Yeah, maybe that's good that they changed it. So right now, so they have a little bit more to work with tomorrow. I mean, ChatGPT and also with copy AI, depending on what you're doing, you can get quite far for a little while if you're not using it every day like me in different ways. Does anyone want to share their experience? I had group one again. I would love if Rachel can share the experience. Yeah, go ahead. Guys.
Yeah. I think it was a really fun experience. So Keeya collected some things, like we wrote things. So I copied and pasted text from an Instagram post that I posted. And Brenda typed something into the chat, and then Keeya put it in to see what brand voice would come out. So it came out and it described a combination of our voices. So we're both coaches, and we and it talked about, being very positive and balancing. It was just a very interesting thing. And I had shared in the room that part of my process is I worked with a branding consultant to really try to refine my voice. And a lot of the things that I was trying to define, the chat AI kind of just described exactly what I was going for. And then testing it on actually creating something, it really did take the style of writing from both Brenda and I and incorporate it into kind of a whole sort of article that we could produce. And it was just a little bit mind-blowing. I think it's just, I do spend quite a bit of time, hours in a week doing content creation. And the fact that something could be created in my voice was on a specific topic and actually be an incredible start could save me hours.
How about let's take two more observations or a question, and then we close for those who want to head into sleep land or whatever is next for you. And there's also the possibility for people to stay and come back and stay on to get to know each other more. I was thinking we would do networking groups, like I could randomly assign people, or open up a room and a couple of people go into open up rooms, a couple of people go into each, and then you can decide whether you which one you want to go into. So Keeya,
Definitely. I'm just going to kind of wrap up a bit here, keeping an eye on time. So out of AI, for me, I know that it is a growing technology and we have a lot of human intervention that needs to happen. But I also use it quite a bit for work. I like to streamline a lot of my content creations and conversations a bit. I also like to have fun with it. So I do a lot of spiritual journeys where I pray and I chant. And I'm like, these are the images that come to mind. And I try to create those images so that I can really hold those thoughts in. So it's really great for complex critical thinking challenges. It's great for brainstorming ideas, communications. And I think the more inclusive that we can help AI understand more, the better. I do write companies a lot of feedback consistently and constantly on the pitfalls of lacks of representation and diversity, because I believe if you're going to make a machine in any context, it should see people for who people are. The next is that there's a lot of AI tools out there, all built on the back of some sort of AI engine, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's the new AI from Facebook, whether it's Google's, I forget the Google's name version, but I should, because I'm a Google Women's Techmaker, so that's bad on me, but there's so many different types of tools out there. I consistently, for business, I use a lot of the diagrams for ChatGPT, but there are situations like Canva where it creates presentations for you. If you say, I want to write a presentation about so-and-so, I personally end up tried using that just to kind of see how well or mature the maturity level is of that, and it's not there yet. It actually kind of dismisses the entire context of what a presentation is. Even if I go to copy AI and create my structure and then take that content and throw it in ChatGPT with Canva back in, it completely misses the presentation completely. But that's technology for you. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Dr. Chopra can explain the first time he started using GPT, I think you said it was 2, how everything was like just not there yet. And the same thing with DALL-E and all these other different tools. It all takes a lot of learning and a lot of maturity level to grow. I will leave you with this. These are my favorite resources. Ethan Malik, he does a lot of writing materials about AI. One of the things that I would say that you can really just practice on is how to write prompts and getting really, really better at it to the part that you are an expert at writing prompts, because those are the key elements to getting AI in this context to work the way that you want to do. The other huge shero in this industry, she was a part of a Netflix documentary called Coded Bias. I believe it's still running. Take a look at that documentary because it's super important as human beings. She's an activist. She's the founder of Algorithmic Justice League. Her name is Joy Bulalami. I'm always messing her name up, but it's important to also, even if you get her book, to read it, because this is where we can understand how to prevent harms with AI, and how to kind of collaborate with it. Last is takeaways. Embrace AI as a brilliant intern without any kind of maturity level. It's a growing in knowledge and its expertise. Engage with AI as if you would with a human. Talk to it. I have things on AI that I'm like, do you understand what you're seeing? I know it doesn't see anything physically, right? But it's interesting that we can talk to it more as humans. It has grown enough to do that. Provided feedback to foster diversity, equity, inclusion in AI. And this is feedback to the AI, but it's also feedback to the companies that are promoting their different types of AI solutions. Handle AI extremely responsibly to prevent potential harm in oneself and others. There's a lot of that happening with deep fake and AI and all the dangers around it. You have bad actors. That's just the way it is as the people that we live on this planet. But we can also turn it in. We can also prevent it. We can also be responsible with it. Lastly, if you have more questions, you can always reach me on LinkedIn. It's actually the best way to reach me. I am not really good at email response. I take forever to answer an email. So that's just my full transparency there. You can always message me through LinkedIn, say that you're from the ODinLA, and I'm going to prioritize your conversations. I want you all to have a wonderful night. If you want to stay around, I'm here for another 30 minutes. Happy prompting. Have fun with AI, and I'm here for you. Take care.